voters will have the chance to decide on a measure aimed at making it easier for cannabis employees to unionize. On July 5th, 2024, Dan Clay, president of UFCW Local 555, submitted boxes of signatures to state election officials pushing for what will be known as Ballot Measure 119. This proposed measure would prevent cannabis retailers and processors from opposing employee unions, ensuring that workers have a clearer path to union representation. The United Food and Commercial Workers Local 555, Oregon's largest private sector union, has invested over $2.4 million into this effort. Election officials confirmed that a whopping 80% of the 156,533 signatures gathered were valid, well beyond the required 117,173. Under the proposed measure, cannabis business owners would need to sign a labor peace agreement with a union to obtain a state license, meaning they would agree to remain neutral if their employees chose to unionize. While the union believes this measure aligns Oregon's labor protections with those in states like California and New York, critics, including Oregon Business and Industry, warn that it could lead to legal battles, citing potential conflicts with federal labor laws. As the election date approaches, UFCW is optimistic about their prospects. Political director Michael Salviaggio stated, "We've done polling on it several times. It's on track to pass." This cannabis proposal is just one of 5 statewide measures Oregonians will vote on come to November 5th. Other measures include giving lawmakers impeachment powers, creating a new commission for elected officials' salaries, and introducing ranked choice voting. Don't forget the highly contentious Measure 118, which proposes tax hikes on large businesses to provide rebates to Oregonians. This measure has drawn fierce opposition and is expected to spark a fierce campaign battle. So it sounds like they have a lot to vote on in Oregon. I don't think that this should have to be this way, right? Like, I'm not a huge fan of unions, but I also understand that, unfortunately, there are a lot of unscrupulous employers who, without being made to or have the threat of being made to, will not treat their employees the right way. So I'm going to throw it back to you guys and see what you think. We'll see.
I'm shocked that a state is even putting this on the ballot. This is kind of like... I'm not
anti-Oregon culture, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, Saman.
Politely.
I don't understand why they are putting this on the ballot to force people to have to unionize.
When the bureaucrats want more power and they want power to impeach, I mean, I get it, but like, don't we already have that power as citizenry to like recall the elected officials or to like vote new people into office to like do the bidding of the people? I mean, I thought that's what the Constitution of America kind of proposed to us, is that like we have the opportunity to do that once, and then we have the opportunity to continually do that as our democracy is like with elected officials. Obviously, we know the system's rigged. Obviously, we know the political system in this country is a total nonsense.
It's rigged.
No.
Stop it.
What?
But that's why. It's because no one's involved. It's because the people involved are the wheelers and dealers and the people that are paying, and contributing all this money to these massive factions. So it's like, one faction or another faction getting more power and more money is just going to lead to more corruption.
Fair.
Interesting perspective there, Saman.
Do you think they're in Oregon? You think they get a pair of Birkenstocks with their union membership?
Yes, and a
Patagonia sweater.
I don't know. They're pretty expensive, so.
You may have the Birkenstocks or the Jesus ones. Which would you like?
Oh,
welcome to the union.
You guys. I mean, I'm very conflicted on this. I don't think that they should be voting on this. I think it's each business's choice to whether or not they want to unionize or whatnot. But I don't.
Well, then all of the businesses are going to choose no.
Well, then obviously, then unions aren't a good choice. It's pretty obvious.
Oh, they're saying they can't reject. The article says that
imbalance of power, Jason. How about that?
What are you trying to get at, Rico?
Owners of businesses obviously don't want to give up control. They're not going to vote to unionize.
Anyone can start a business if they want to, Rico.
Right, but that law says they can't deny the workers from organizing union, right? So.
Okay, I'm not opposed to that. Whatever. I guess I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I'm just not opposed to like some type of mandate that if you have a business, then you have to unionize.
Well, if you're shooting a movie in Hollywood, you have to hire union people, right? If you run a union
which causes for gross overinflated costs to produce anything, which is why a number of people are producing stuff in other states outside of California, which is lowering our overall GDP.
it's a balance.
Although California has been offering tax incentives because of that. Exactly right.
Exactly.
Well, also,
other places.
I mean, that's largely because of the permitting costs. It's way cheaper for me to get the permitting in Atlanta than it is in downtown Los Angeles, right? So, and also, I have a much better chance of not running over a crowd of homeless people, but
then those
slightly
better. The subsidies don't pay for. They just pay the rich studio heads to the credit or whatever, and not the people that need to get paid. So it's
100%.
Well, union workers get paid union rates. That's why they're part of the union.
Right,
that's why that union fee comes out of their paycheck.
Yep,
so like the employees also have to pay those fees.
Yeah,
and then they get fleeced with that union fee.
Not always. Every case is different, Jason.
It's a fleecing, bro. It's a fleecing. Rico.
Every case is different. Every owner isn't greedy. Every owner isn't the greediest, and every union isn't the greatest.
That's right.
It's a balancing act.
That's true. I mean, listen, when I worked at Kaiser Permanente for a very long time, when I came home on the weekends and I got paid, I hated looking at my check and seeing that union fee because I was like, shit, I don't remember the union working half my shifts this week.
Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying, you guys.
One example, Jason.
If you can pick up what I'm putting down, you know what I'm saying, Rico.
Yeah.
Just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
From personal experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in college. So I was mad as hell. But all right.
Yeah.
You mad?
No. You should have been here yesterday. I was very docile yesterday, Todd.
Yeah, she was in a coma yesterday.
Very quiet woman. I had a quiet woman moment.
You have a nice little pregame for the pregame session? What's going on there?
Space gems to help me sleep, and they're just really yummy. I kept eating them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was in a weed coma until basically the last story of the show yesterday.
Literally.
Can you move your cannabis seltzer for me, please? It's covering my face.
Yeah,
it's a bubbly water.
Yeah, move that. Yeah, slide that
bubbly
water.
Yeah.
I thought that was a hemp THC bootleg.
She's already
the last of all of the retail contents that is shipped to Jenny.
She's already defying Gavin Newsom's order.
Yeah,
I really am. Y'all got to come get all this hemp out of my house. But all right.
Jenny V's, she pushing that THC.
Everyone's stocked up.
Mm-hmm.
1,000%.
Yarrow, you have any thoughts? We know you're a union lover. You have any thoughts on this?
Well, look, I don't know. I'm a gentle lover, not a union lover. But both of my parents were shop stewards for their respective unions. My mom and dad were both very active in unions, and so I grew up in a household that was pro-union because I saw the benefits of the unions in our lives and also the work that they did to further other people's lives. And so I think that unions, there's been a very conscious decision to deconstruct their influence and efficacy in this country over the last 50 years. And I think that what's really important to remember about unions is they're nowhere near where they used to be, nor are they nearly as effective. And I think we need to go back even further and remember what unions are, which was a byproduct of workers getting the short end of the stick and the need to organize in order to have collective bargaining. And so I think that we need to go back to when there was no overtime, when there was no 5-day work week, and we need to understand the historic contributions of unions, and there's a place for them. I think that most unions are not doing a great job these days, and that they're a little bloated and ineffective. But I question whether getting rid of them gets us to a better place versus improving them so that we do have work protections. And here's the problem in America these days, aside from some of these candidates, is we have this massive wealth gap, and the wealth gap here in the United States is decimating the middle class like polar bears on ice caps. And so the middle class and the American dream and the notion that you could work until a certain age and then get a gold pocket watch and retire, and that based on a 1 or 2 income household, you could buy a home in a modest neighborhood and maybe afford to send a couple kids to college. That dream is dead, and that dream is dead in no small measure because of the wealth gap. And so how we address that is up to somebody besides myself, but I do think that unions played a positive role in the past.
I don't
So
think
if I'm hearing you right, you want to go back to the glory days of when the unions were good. But would you be saying that you want to make America great again?
Oh,
well, I think America's great right now, and I think it goes from great to greater to greatest if we get back to what really made this country amazing, which was the notion, maybe not the reality, of equal opportunity for all. And
well, if we want to get back to the history of
amazing again.
If we want to get back to the history of unions, right? Unions weren't started because some dispensary workers were like, you get 17 an hour and I only get 12. It was started because men were dying in very, very, very high risk environments, right? And these companies weren't putting in safety standards that were anywhere near what was required to keep their employees alive. So that's a situation where, yes, we need unions, right? So maybe let's regulate those farms. Maybe let's regulate processing facilities. Let's regulate things that are high risk, C1, D1 facilities. Take your cell phone in there, it might be your last fucking call, Bubba. Like, there are things where we should make sure that safety standards are put into place. But also, if we want to talk about the gap and what's destroyed the American dream, a large portion of it was the fact that before our generation, there was no credit scores. They were like, oh, you're alive, you're breathing, here's a $400,000 house. I mean, it was probably $50,000 at that point in time. And then they couldn't pay for it. People got a bunch of shit they couldn't afford, and they fucked it up. So unions aren't going to fix the economic issues that were created in this country.
Well,
money will.
I love the way you victim shamed the borrower in the subprime meltdown of 2006 and 2007.
That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to prior to that.
She was referring to prior to
that.
She's referring to the
I'm
boomers.
talking about when our parents were like, hey, let me get this house, and they didn't check shit all. They were like, okay, here's your check. Hope you can pay me back, buddy.
Yeah, the boomers screwed us over. We're not going to have no Social Security. Thanks, Jason.
Thanks for trying to pigeonhole me into being an asshole this early, Yarrow. I'll do it myself. Give me time.
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. And
pigeonhole to the a-hole. We are starting it off right.
And on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we're going to be right